Welcome back to Boy Band Break, where we encourage you to take a break from your day and join us in some boy band conversation. As always, my name's Diane.
I'm Chinzia.
I'm Sophia.
And I'm Lydia, aka Mama Lou.
Before I do this, I'm going to make a request to someone here. Can someone put a timer on? Because I can't watch a timer. And
Okay.
Yep, I will do
Okay.
that right now.
Thank
As
you.
I lock my phone instead of pressing the thing.
Thank you, Chinzia. All
All
right.
right.
Canada Day is coming up on Thursday.
Which is a weird time in the week.
I mean, they can't control when July 1st falls.
I know, but it's always annoying. Like, if it's a Monday or a Friday, I'm like obviously
Yeah.
Friday is the golden
I'm only
day.
saying it's weird because then the next day you have to go back to work.
Or you take a
you
day
can't
off.
get shit
You can't
faced on
take
a
the-
Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
Last year, it was a Wednesday.
I know.
Yeah, but it was a pandemic and everything was canceled, so...
I think maybe
It's
that's
still
what-
mostly canceled
Yes.
this year as well, but there's a little more that we can do.
I feel a lot of places will probably give people Thursday and Friday off. Because, like, what's going on now anyways?
Nobody
Most people take a
takes any
vacation
days
day.
off in
Yeah.
childcare, so
Yes.
I will be working.
Anyways. I believe not last year, but 2 years ago, we did do a Canada Day
We
episode
did!
where we went through all the Canadian boy bands. And kind
Yes.
of, like, told you guys about them.
I feel like it was our first
Did
year,
each of
wasn't
us
it?
do it?
yes,
We
it
did,
was
right?
2 years ago.
We
but-
researched?
No,
No?
I
Oh,
just
okay. Cynthia's
listened to them
knowledge
all.
of the boy
and
bands. Okay.
we just, yes.
Right.
Hold on.
So, Shinzia's going to look that up.
No.
I don't think we did one last year because there wasn't really much more to say at that point.
Episode 46.
Very
Forty
good.
It's called Canadian Boy Bands, and the thing is, in honor of Canada Day, we shout out and chat about some of our favorite Canadian boy bands: The Moffats, Soul Decision, Three Deep, VIP, and ID. And then apparently, because we're thirsty, we said, if any of you would like to be interviewed for a future episode, please email us, boybandbreak@gmail.com.
Well, you know
That
what?
is still open.
It's
If you are a
still true.
Canadian boy bander,
Yes.
you know what? If you're a boy bander of any country,
Offer still stands.
Absolutely.
come and be on our show.
Yes. We
All
would
right.
love to have you.
Anyways, a while back, I stumbled upon this article on CBC Music, and if you don't know what CBC is, it is...
Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
Thank you.
I didn't know what the other C stood for.
It's governmentally funded.
It is a government...
See, y'all can't talk.
The government funds this.
This channel, it's a TV channel, they have radio, they have all
lots
kinds
of
of
things.
things.
Is this CanCon or is that?
This is CanCon, yeah.
Ah,
Well, no, it's like an actual, like, they have news and things like that.
but like we have to have Canadian content in order to.
So,
keep
yes.
This
This is like,
particular-
like in the
yeah.
States when they'd be like, PBS has like Sesame Street, donate money and whatever. It's kind of like that, but we don't ask for donations.
But they only show Canadian made like program. Schitt's Creek was on CBC.
Oh, yay!
You know Schitt's
That's a very
Creek,
popular
no
show.
matter where you live now.
It blew up.
There's also Murdoch Mysteries, but that's not really a popular
That's a
show.
good.
No one
You know
outside
what?
of Canada
Honestly,
knows
I
that.
never heard of Murdoch Mysteries. Then Mom started watching it for like she was obsessed with it for a while. It's actually a really good show.
I only
It's like a detective show. Like, there's like, the straight-laced guy and or the girl or whatever. The girl is like a doctor or whatever, and he's like a detective. But it's set in like the early 1900s or something.
Yeah.
And they're like all wearing like period clothing, and they have like they wear the suits and they wear like the fancy dresses and stuff.
And they
It's
film
actually-
in downtown Hamilton all the time.
Yes, so it's actually a pretty cool show.
And it's
So
in the 12th season now.
12 or 14 or
Yeah,
something.
it's crazy.
I don't know.
Anyways,
check that out.
Yes.
Nothing to do with this episode, but there you go.
so I found this link on the CBC website, and it's called "Ooh, It's Kind of Crazy," which
Ooh,
kinda
kind of crazy.
it's a Soul Decision song. It says the complicated history of Canadian boy bands,
It's
and
complicated.
then I bookmarked it because I was like, "That's a good episode." And so what I
So
thought
have
we
you
would
read
do.
this article then?
I haven't. I skimmed it.
Okay.
It's basically about. I kind
Why
of just
Canadian
skimmed.
boy bands aren't popular?
Correct. Why Canadian boy bands never took off? Because American boy bands obviously really took off,
Yes.
and
European
even
ones.
you know what I mean. So why didn't our boy bands ever take off?
Can I make a hypothesis?
Sure.
I think it's because we don't have enough funding.
Okay.
behind the boy bands. There's not a lot of labels like pushing it.
Uh-huh.
I also feel that there's a lot less people who live in Canada. I don't feel this. This is the truth. There are a
Mhm.
lot less people that live in Canada. I think right now we're up to, I want to say, like 35 million. Back in our day, it was like 30 million. And in the States, I want to say it's like
Oh my God.
350 million.
It's
so
like
they have
10
like 10
times
times
that.
the population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And although the Canadian government does a very good job of forcing CanCon on radio stations and TV stations, so, for those,
CanCon is
so it's Canadian content, and we have to air a minimum of 30% Canadian music or whatever on radio and TV shows and stuff like that. I just feel like there's not enough of a budget behind them, and the Americans have their own bands. They don't really care about Canada. Like there are some exceptions, like
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber, Shania Twain,
Drake.
Celine Dion, Drake. So like when you get
Weeknd.
one of those,
The Weeknd,
the Weeknd, yeah, there's like a little like, whoo. So like I know when I'm in the States and I'm listening to the radio and then I hear a Canadian artist, because I'm so used to listening to Canadian artists, because obviously we have to play them. And I enjoy CanCon. A lot of people like, ugh, CanCon, whatever. So I also feel like there's a bias from Canadians as well, that they don't think the Canadian music is as good as American music.
Not all of it is.
And that's true, but also there's a lot of good gems in there.
Mm.
Like Chum FM has a lot of good songs. I used to be on their music thing and I'd be like, oh, I like this clip. And then I would look it up and I'm like, of course, it's a Canadian artist. I love this. So like, kudos to the Canadian artists out there working hard and grinding. But yeah, obviously to make it big, you need to go where there's more people, which is the States. And it's very hard to break in there because they're trying to promote their own. Like even things like Canadian Idol. We only had that for like a couple of years. American Idol.
I auditioned and I didn't get in, so that's why they stopped.
right?
Clearly.
But
I
even,
made it to the producers, but not beyond.
but even like the prizes are entirely different. Like Canadian
Yes,
Idol,
they're-
you're like, oh, here you get like a record. And American Idol, like, here's $1 million and this and that and all this other stuff and endorsements and stuff.
Yeah.
And a movie, and here you get like nothing, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Poor
it's just-
Brian Mello. He had to go back to his roofing job. I feel so bad for him.
Aw.
maybe it was all he ever wanted.
Okay.
Nobody wants
Anyways.
to work for a roofing business. Sorry,
I don't
Sylvia.
think that's what
Anyways,
you
long
wanted.
story for my rant, but that is my hypothesis on Canadian.
I think that's a pretty good
Artists.
hypothesis, but
and it's really hard to make a boy band. Like, I don't think Canada has a Lou Pearlman.
This
Yes.
is what my point was. We
Yes.
don't have a Lou Pearlman. The closest thing we have is the guy who runs Bad Boy. Like, oh,
Mel Last.
if anyone can do it, it's him.
oh my god, Lydia.
If you would not know this unless you live in the Toronto area, Mel Lastman was a business entrepreneur. He
Furniture.
owned a furniture store.
Lazy boy.
And then somehow,
he didn't own Lazy Boy.
it's Bad
oh,
Boy.
sorry, bad boy, yeah.
Anyways, so he somehow, through whatever, he worked in city council or whatever, and he became the mayor of Toronto. And he was the mayor of Toronto like for a very long
Like 8
time.
years or
Something
something.
like that. Like,
Yeah,
two terms.
but
like
he's
so
like
good.
a little bit
Crazy?
not crazy.
Is he
He's just like
Yes, he's Italian.
yeah, and he's just like very unique and
Yeah,
kind
that's a good
of
word, that's a good word.
High energy.
Yeah, a little
Cheesy.
bit weird. Like a little bit. He's a little
He
bit
called
out
in the
there.
army with the when there was a snowstorm.
Quirky is the word I
Ah,
would
there you
use to
go.
describe Mel Lastman. I would look forward every year
Yeah.
when they would do the New Year's countdown.
Yeah, in the Latin Square.
Well, no.
Nathan Phillips Square.
Nathan
Oh,
Phillips Square.
Oh, sorry.
we saw Cyril
And
Joe in the last
he-
Oh, sorry.
He would, there would be a gong, and he would have this big thing, and he would be like wildly, like hammering this gong, and it was so funny to watch. Anyways,
He was
I
very
don't know
entertaining.
why
And he's-
Chinzia
No,
thi-
yeah.
Chinzia, Lydia thinks.
He also spent a lot of money on commercials. So
Yes.
it'd be like they
So
were
good.
showing like, you know, here's the sofa and whatever. And then their tagline is
Who's better than Bad Boy?
Nobody! Wow.
So weird.
He had the
this
marketing
is not sponsored
underneath.
by Bad Boy.
No,
If they would like to
Oh my
sponsor
God.
us.
Exactly.
He
bring
came
it.
into my radio station once because we were trying to like get him on to be like, I forget a thing. And Dave
Duracco?
Duracco was like, okay, when he comes in, you just get on the intercom and go, nobody. buddy. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do that, buddy. I'm like, so I didn't, but like it was just so awkward. It was weird. And then we had a stunt where they were opening up the so we were opening up the Last Man Bad Boy in Burlington. So we actually had like Monica and Olivia and stuff had to dress up in like prisoner outfits.
That was
That's their
his thing.
stick
That was
because
his,
it's
like-
bad boy.
So yeah, and they were like there were signs, and then there were I think we did like a pillow fight or something. So anyway, so what he did, because he's a smart businessman, he played all the radio stations in the city against each other.
Smart.
So he had us all in for these like remotes on the grand opening. And then was like, oh yes, I'm gonna do lots of advertising on you guys, so give me a discount on the remotes. And everyone's
Smart.
like, okay. So we all gave him discounts on the remotes, and then he was like, man, I'm good, I got enough publicity, and didn't advertise. We're like, son of a bitch.
That's the Lou Pearlman mentality, man.
So you know what? Yeah, I guess he is kind of.
I
a
guess,
Lou Pearlman.
yeah. Okay, I can see it.
The marketing was good. The money was there. He just needed to be a pervert, but that didn't end up. So
He needed to be interested in young boys.
Okay.
that's the one thing that he was
was
missing.
last
Of course,
minute,
Mel
yeah.
A missed opportunity.
The only other person I could think that could be Canadian Mel Assman is that guy who's like, oh yeah, the gold.
Oh my
the
God!
Cashman! The
Oh my
Cashman!
God! Oliver!
Russell Oliver!
Russell Oliver,
Because
yes.
he's Canadian, right?
Yes, I think yes.
It
Oh my
is.
God!
Like
yes. Okay.
Again, those of you not living in this
I'm
area.
sorry, everyone's screaming. But this is not really that exciting.
It is very
But that's
sad.
what I'm saying.
So Russell Oliver started as a pawn shop man.
Mhm.
And he had like just a little pawn shop, and then he became like, I'll buy your gold and silver. And then he would like paint himself silver.
Yes.
Or then he became the Lone Arranger.
Oh, yeah,
And
the
he was
Lone
like-
Ranger.
So whatever. And then he's like the Cash Man. And he's like,
Oh,
like,
He created a song. I'm the cash man. I'll give you money for your gold. Oh yeah.
It was like-
So this was like before
he
the
has
gold rush.
writing, he has music experience, he's got capital.
You know what? Maybe you should pitch it to
also
him.
not a pervert, so that's not helpful.
We don't know that he's
We
not
don't
a
have any
pervert.
rich perverts in Canada. That's the main problem. Everyone is just.
Or they're like recluse perverts
Maybe
who
they're
don't
polite
like,
perverts.
you know.
I guess so. I just like so this.
Where did this go?
No, this is because we're all giving our hypothesis as to why Canadian boy bands
Okay.
don't think.
So
you
you're
got your
saying
thing.
because there's no. I'm saying no money, not enough listeners. You're saying
No Lou-
no
No Lou
Pearlman.
Pearlman, no Simon Cowell. We don't have that one guy in Canada who's just such a prick who has a lot of money and a
Maybe
little
one of those
taste for men.
Dragons Den
What about the
guys?
Dragon's Den guy?
Oh no, the baldy guy.
Oh yeah, he has money.
Kevin, what's his name?
Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, I feel like he's like a hard ass.
He is a hard ass.
He made
but
it all the way to Shark Tank.
He did. He did. He could be another candidate for a
Okay.
Lou Pearlman-esque guy. You
We
know what I
should
mean?
contact him.
Because he knows business. He's on
slimy.
television.
He's kind of a dick.
He's kind of a dick. Like it just you need that like perfect mixture of like shitty manager gone bad with a little bit of a pervo side and some money. It's hard to come by here because we're too
Yes.
nice. That's the problem. We're not like cutthroat like, oh, I'm going to be the sixth member of the boy band. Tee hee hee. I'm going to massage your shoulders. Tee hee hee. Like we don't have that here, which is a good thing. Like it's really
How dare we not have a molester?
it's really a good thing, but it's just kind of like with the arts, you need that eccentric type because that's kind of what makes the art interesting. Because like I don't know, like because especially like in music, right? You got to be in the room where it happens. You know what I mean? Like you got to meet
Are
the.
you making up a
That's
song?
Hamilton. Anyone watch Hamilton?
I haven't yet.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
the musical Hamilton. Anyways, okay, because the music biz is very like, you know, you got the one guy eating
shady business.
the. It is shady business. You got the one guy fucking eating
Shout
a
out
steak,
to O-Town.
making the fucking
Clive
calls.
Davis eating the steak.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
bathroom butler.
this kind of like it's not fair because like there's so many talented people who do music. Look on YouTube. Like there's like so many people who are just doing it for free. You know what I mean? When you need that one shot, you need that meeting with that one guy, and you
Well,
need
kinda
to
like a Scooter
Just one
Braun.
opportunity.
one opportunity. That's the thing. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Scooter bro. Scooter's a Canadian.
Is he Canadian?
But is
Oh
he-
no, he's not.
He's
Shit.
American.
Never mind.
He's
Forget
all
it.
shady.
I don't.
Bieber's Canadian.
Yeah,
Scooter.
yeah. There, you know what it is. There's okay. In Japan, there's a in the office culture.
yes, I knew you were
There's
going.
something that's called
The
the
American.
loud American, right? It's the loud American is like that's a post where you're just like you're like obnoxious and pushy.
And
but
say things that people are thinking but don't want to say it because they're polite.
right, exactly, right? So like, I think I might be able to fill that Lou Pearlman role in Canada, guys.
All right.
So like
we'll start promoting you.
I just need some capital.
She just needs money.
I just need money. I'm already perverted. I'm already there. But I have no money.
All right. So you just need the money and someone to give you a chance.
There we go. Exactly.
All right.
And then what's your hypothesis as to why?
I was thinking like they don't have as good as songs for boy bands
The writers.
because
maybe they don't have enough money
they
to
don't have
make
money
it.
to get the songs that they need to have a hit.
'Cause-
So I think they're
'cause
not
Can-
tickling
yeah.
any balls.
Well, yeah, because part of CanCon you have to have like 2 out of the 3 criteria.
So, yes, for something to be considered Canadian content, it has to have 2 out of 4 of Maple, which is music, artist, producer, or lyrics, I think. So that's why, even though Bryan Adams is Canadian, a lot of his music is not considered CanCon because he does a lot of his stuff in the States.
Because the
So there you go.
States, they got to polish on shit. All right, yeah, I will give you that, Americans. You know what's good. You polish it up. You make it nice. You know what I mean? Us, we're just like, it's kind of like we're government funded. We don't even have to try. Take my shit. You know, it's kind of
shit. Here you go.
You know what I mean? It's just like I don't know.
Well, friends, we're
I was going to say, we're 15 and a half minutes.
We've only got to the title of the
Only-
article.
And this is a bit of an article.
Great hypothesis.
I
Everyone.
don't
Thank
want
you.
this to
Thank
turn
you.
into a Rolling Stone debacle again, where that was a very long episode. So,
Yes.
unless it's really important, let's try not to go off on a tangent.
Okay.
All right. So,
I love how you're both looking at me.
Sorry.
there's a little pre-thing here that says CBC Music wanted to get a better understanding of the rise and fall of Canadian boy bands. Over the course of a few months, Holly Gordon, Melanie Lau, and Andrea Warner, they're the people who wrote this article, interviewed some of the members of the biggest acts from the 90s and 2000s, the executives and marketing professionals who tried to replicate a quintessentially American success story here at home, as well as pop culture experts to help analyze this surreal but special moment in Canadian music history.
All right.
And this is a fairly recent article. It just came out in October of 2020. So
Okay.
Okay.
And there's a cute cartoon picture at the top.
there's a very cute cartoon picture at the
I
top.
see it.
You can see it. I'm not going to show it to the camera because they won't be able
Can
to
you
see
guess
it.
who they are?
Oh, it's a cartoon of Canadian boy bands. Okay, I see.
Do you know
Yes.
who they are?
Yeah, it's not important.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Remember, really important. All right. So, no matter how hard Canada tries, there's one thing it can't get quite right. Boy bands.
I know.
Yeah.
Tear.
And boy, have we tried.
Yeah.
We have.
Yeah.
The fever pitch of Canadian boy band success and market saturation came in 2000. 1 year after Backstreet Boys, and then in brackets they put BSB, so I think they're going to continue to refer to them as BSB throughout the rest of this article.
Backstreet Boys is long to type out.
Yes. Hit their pinnacle in the United States. But the race had been on for a few years. BSB and NSYNC were circling each other in America. And they did put NSYNC in all capitals, but no star.
Ah.
It's all about the star, baby.
Yikes.
At least they didn't put the apostrophe.
That's true. Both bands emerged out of Florida, specifically in the mid-90s, and fans began to swoon and swarm around the world. The Canadian music industry wanted its own piece of the boy band billions.
Yeah. Fair.
Teenage family band The Moffats
Yay!
Yay.
left their country music for pop and made their major label debut in 1998, called Chapter 1: A New Beginning.
Yeah, I remember that.
Montreal Sky released its major label debut in 1999 called A Piece of Paradise.
Some kind of
Some
wonderful.
kind of wonderful.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There's
Yeah,
only
I
two
know that
members
song.
in that band.
Yes. And Soul Decision, B44, and McMaster and James arrived with their major label debuts in 2000
Thank
Did we
you.
meet?
in
I
order.
met Jane.
Yeah.
I met Luke McMaster.
Okay.
They sing that thank you song.
Mm.
No one does it better, B44 and McMaster and James, respectively. Also active during this time, Wave, Voices in Public,
That's
which is
VIP.
VIP.
Oh, VIP.
VIP.
VIP was our closest to a real boy band.
Yeah.
3
No.
Deep,
3D was
3D.
closer.
CJ!
Identically Different, ID,
Oh,
and
ID.
Distinct Nature.
Oh, I'm sorry. ID was our closest to a boy band. VIP was just my luck.
I'm like, it shouldn't. Yeah,
I
I
know,
think you're
I know.
remembering that differently.
I did get that
Okay.
confused. ID was like a 5-member pretty boy group.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
Oh my god, they mention all the good ones. Okay.
There was a lot of dyed hair, some unfortunate soul patches, a bit of choreography,
Yeah.
a few coordinated outfits,
Yeah.
and pop melodies for days.
Yeah.
But mostly what made a boy band was its targeted fan base.
Us.
Teenage girls.
High five.
Good job.
That was us in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I slapped you already.
I know, I'm slapping myself.
Okay.
And while audiences showed up in the thousands across Canada to support these acts,
We sure did.
Yep.
even helping their songs dominate the year-end charts in 2000, none of the Canadian boy bands would make it out of the decade intact.
Sad face.
Most barely made it to 2005, and arguably we haven't had a boy band since.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in
It's
America,
time. Okay, sorry.
BSB are still together.
Yeah.
And in the 2 decades since the height of their popularity, the States also gave the world the Jonas Brothers, adopted England's One Direction,
Yep.
and finally welcomed South Korean boy bands BTS
Right.
and
True.
Super M with open arms.
That is very
Ooh, I don't know
true.
Super M.
I don't know Super M either.
Mm.
So what is it about Canada that makes us unable to keep a successful boy band industry afloat? Maria Sherman, a boy band expert and author of Larger Than Life, A History of Boy Bands from NKOTB to
You
BTS,
should read that.
has some thoughts. I know it's been on my
Yeah.
list for a while. In doing some of my research, I was really kind of fascinated to learn that a lot of these Canadian groups were either brothers or they created themselves. They were friends who got together and started making music, which is also really unusual in the boy band story.
Yes.
Unless you're 98 Degrees.
They make their own music?
Or
Or
they
new-
were friends together at
Oh.
school.
New Kids,
And New Kids too.
New Kids, yeah.
Except for Joey, they brought him in.
Yeah. Sherman said in an interview with CBC Music, when you look at the ones that go on to sell bajillions of records, they are typically created by some industry Svengali who has orchestrated and strategized every single step of their development. So they've created a product in order to sell, and that's how they explode beyond anyone's imagination.
Yep. Yeah, totes.
The fact that, and then there's a quote from her here that says, the fact that they're called boy bands, it makes it seem like they can't grow up.
Interesting.
There are also strata within the boy band genre, Sherman explained. With the success of BSB and NSYNC, there were other American attempts to capitalize on the boy band trend. O-Town, 98 Degrees, LFO, and the like wanted to be phenomena like BSB and NSYNC, but had to settle for second tier. Burn.
Wow.
Ouch, ouch, ouch.
But also truthful.
True.
Yes.
But that's why it's burned.
love you, O-Town.
We say it all the time.
Yes.
BSB and NSYNC are the elite.
Yes.
They
Agreed.
are the creme de la creme. They are just the top of the
Top-notch.
tops when it comes to boy bands.
Because that
Yes.
was like the pure Lou Pearlman experience.
Pinnacle, the peak.
Yeah.
The peak
Yeah,
of the
and then like everything else was just kind of like a
And
watered
it
down
was
version.
okay to have any of the other ones as your second favorite band.
Yes.
So there was not any fighting.
No.
The infighting of the fans of the BSB and Sync thing.
Which was created by Lou Pearlman.
Yes.
Genius, man.
Brilliant.
So yes.
Gross, but brilliant.
The marketplace gets oversaturated because everybody's like, oh, boy bands are doing well and now everybody's in a boy band, Sherman said. And it's unfortunate because I feel like there were a lot of boy bands that didn't get their shine internationally.
Yes.
Which is
True.
which is a huge thing with a lot of these, especially American boy bands and then even Canadian ones and whatever.
Yeah.
BSB and NSYNC became global phenomenons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even New Kids are really, even now, still struggling, still trying to take it overseas and go
Yeah.
and whatever, and they're just not hitting it. So,
Because they were so big in America.
Yeah.
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 So it helped that they were.
KOTBSB, they
Yes,
were able
I was
to
going
get
to say that. It
infiltrated.
helped getting Backstreet Boys because BSB is big.
because
in
that's
Europe.
that's how Lou did it. He started in Europe, Canada, trickled down. That's the format of perfection.
I also thought of something I just want to quickly say. Magazines.
Mm.
I
Yes.
feel like all of those teen magazines were out of the States.
Yes,
Yes.
So I
sir.
feel like there was not a lot of the Moffats, yes, but I feel like there was not a lot of representation of like
No.
VIP, ID, any of those ones
Yes.
in those things.
We didn't have
And
our own
we'd also
television.
we'd get the European ones too.
Yeah.
So we would see the Westlifes and the like Boyzone and all those ones. We would see those ones, but there was never really any Canadian magazines.
Yeah, there's no Canadian
This is
publication.
true.
So if they were lucky, they maybe got in the American one, but probably not. And because there was no internet, very low internet back then, not a lot of people had it.
Yeah,
There was not a way to get them out more.
it's true. It's
okay.
true.
Sorry.
True.
Let's continue.
Yeah.
Without an international platform, or at least an American cosign, Canadian boy bands couldn't break out.
Yep.
Carla Palmer who's now a director at CBC Music, and my phone just went black, knows boy bands. She worked at the West Coast promotional representative for EMI and accompanied both the Moffats and Sky on their promo tours of Western Canada.
That's a dream.
Cool.
Oh, I want to do that so bad.
Palmer was also the marketing manager for the first and second BSB Western Canadian tours, as well as NSYNC and Spice Girls while working for MCA Concerts, now Live Nation.
Live
That's
Nation, that's where you want to work.
No, don't.
Oh, okay. Yikes. Okay.
We had some good names that did well in Canada, but did they cross over to America, Palmer asked? And did they leave the territory? So their success was due to Canadian content, or was their success due to the fact that they were a strong band? In most cases, it was all about the marketing. So then there's a little break in it here, and it has some information about the Moffats. The Moffats were a band from apparently 1987, which I don't
They did
believe.
the caterpillar crawl.
But they're brothers, so that makes sense, to 2001. Clint and Bob Moffat say they never considered the Moffats to be a boy band, but they stopped mid-denial. I guess we're a boy band, said Clint on a Zoom call, looking over at his identical twin Bob, sitting next to him in his Nashville home. I think we're boys in a band, you know?
We like the boys.
The boys in the band.
So if you live in Nashville, hey, you could be checking out the Moffats. What's wrong with you? Anyways, the key to being a successful Canadian boy band in the 1990s was authenticity coupled with malleability. Whether they wanted to be known as a boy band or not, and most often the case was not, bands needed to toe the line between boy band and whatever band they actually identified with, crafting a "we want to root for you" story and image that would attract as many fans as possible while hopefully alienating no one. Beth Waldman led EMI's publicity efforts for Sky when the band first formed, and later worked with Soul Decision and the Spice Girls. She said
nice.
Sky was about playing every market possible, whether that meant fighting for a piece of the American boy band pie or just embracing the DIY musician side. James Reynolds and Antoine Sicot were two best friends and musicians from Montreal who formed the band. And
I don't really think that Sky is a boy band.
Well, it's because they don't meet the number criteria.
Yeah.
that's the only really
Yeah.
real problem.
Yeah.
And their bilingualism, coupled with their penchant for Quebec fashion, and the star status of Antoine's father, Quebec actor Gilbert Sicot.
I did not know
I've
that.
never known that either.
There's a lot happening in Quebec that we don't know about.
Yeah, I guess so.
Quickly cemented their hometown star status. Waldman said EMI positioned Sky as stars from the get-go, with a sound and slick pop look that appealed to teenage girls as well as their moms, charting on the top 40 radio and adult contemporary channels simultaneously. But Sky wanted their fans to know they played their own music. Part of what we did to sort of set the tone quite early was we took them across Canada with a full band. Huge upfront dollar investment, but we had a full band, Waldman said. And just to show that these guys are talented musicians. And that really helped gain respect, so we sort of played both sides of the coin. Then there's another quote here from Maria Sherman, and it says, I think because boy bands are always kind of written about through the lens of this image of some hysterical teen girl, they're never taken seriously.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange that they're always described through their audience and not their musicality. I agree.
Yes,
girl,
that's
yes.
so true.
God damn.
100%.
Yeah.
We read a whole article about why no one takes BTS seriously, if you want to go through all that. And it goes through that, like, nobody takes teen girls seriously. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, anyways. Good point.
Yes.
It's the story behind most of Canada's boy bands. They never intended to call themselves boy bands, with the exception of B44, whose members were transparent about wanting to perform hits, no matter who wrote or performed them.
Yeah.
It was a subgenre that labels used to find an audience, and it was lucrative. McMaster and James and Soul Decision would go on to open for thousands of people while on tour with NSYNC, while Soul Decision and Sky would both go on to play for some of their biggest crowds while opening for Christina Aguilera. The Moffats were the Canadian openers for Britney Spears and the Baby One More Time tour.
Nice.
As Waldman pointed out, all of these Canadian groups were opening for pop divas. It was great placement.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
We were playing shows to, I would say, 19, 20, 21-year-old, 22-year-olds. But when we were opening for Christina Aguilera and NSYNC, it was a much younger crowd than that. To me, it was where those guys, boy bands, would be marketed towards that crowd. Soul Decision's Trevor Guthrie said. So for us, I was thinking, well, we're not being taken as a boy band. We're getting an older crowd. We played clubs. But at the end of the day, that's how we were perceived. In the end, it was all about reaching every fan possible. For Sky, it was really, shaking people's hands across the country. But with a band and doing live performances, it wasn't lip syncing ever with them, right? Waldman said. So I think with them, it was really about differentiating them from a lot of other boy bands and really not calling them a boy band. Which, when you look back at it, maybe it's a gray area, but I think it worked.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it has a little thing about Sky. They were from 1997 to 2005. Montreal duo Sky would go through 3 lead singers before breaking up for good in 2005.
Oh, really? Interesting.
But it humbly began as a project between Antoine Sicot and James Renaud, 2 budding best friends who hit it off in music school in the early 90s.
I think they played with Serial Joe once. I feel like we saw them in concert.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It might come up.
Okay.
We had a lot of control, said Sicot, of the band's relationship with EMI. I think that the vision was not exactly the same in the sense of what we saw in us and what they saw in us. But because we had a lot of the creative control, we were, I think, able to find a good middle-of-the-road path. Back in the boy band days, I appreciated it, said McMaster and James's Luke McMaster, of opening for BMG label mates NSYNC. I was grateful for the opportunity, but I don't think I ever fully understood that machine that drives the whole thing. The amount of money that was being spent on, say, a video like Love Wins Every Time. I mean, to spend $145,000 on one video with a helicopter in it these days, you can make 3, 4, or 5 albums.
Okay.
Valid point, but there's some music videos that are a lot more expensive.
Yes,
in the States.
but I guess in Canada,
that's quite a bit. Yes.
Yeah.
In the case of the Moffats, the only literal boy band on the list, the brothers were gay. I guess what they mean is they were actually under 18.
Yeah.
The brothers were game to go all the way, and EMI was there to support them. Their story was already solidly wholesome, triplets and an older brother touring as a family band. By the time they signed to EMI, they had already been playing as a band in Canada and then in the States for years, having transitioned from country to pop and edging on rock. Oh, that Rocky album that they did.
Some modalities.
It was good.
That's good album.
Dean Cameron, may he rest in peace, was the president of EMI, said Waldman.
Bang Boom.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was the name of the album.
It was called Some Modalities.
Ah, okay, cool. Thank you.
They were the Canadian Hanson.
Yes.
Yes.
That's why, I agree.
He was a musician. He was Tom Cochran's drummer. The way he ran EMI was, we're going to break Canadian talent. The plan was to sign a band that already had talent and charisma, not to manufacture it in order to sell records. Universal, on the other hand, had a TV show where they searched out a band and put them together.
Okay.
Remembers Waldman, called Pop Stars.
Oh, never mind.
Was
global-
that the girls, though?
I don't know. It says
I
the
know it's
Global
two.
franchise was the precursor to American Idol, which Universal would also later be involved with.
I think there was.
What about making the band?
Popstars and stuff.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I thought they were
Pop
referencing an American thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Eden's Crush or
Yes, I believe.
Sugar
Eden-
Jones?
I think it was Eden's Crush.
I
is
think
in
Eden's Crush was
in
the American
America.
one, and
Yes,
Sugar Jones
yes.
was Canada, but they were all girls. So maybe
Yes.
maybe it's a different show.
Maybe.
Sorry. Moving on.
I don't know. The EMI approach worked perfectly for the Moffats. As teenagers, they were chameleons who were able to embrace the boy band aesthetic while exploring other sides of themselves. Brothers Bob and Clint remembered EMI Canada being so on board with what the siblings wanted to do that they usually felt in charge of their future. Add to that their opportunity-focused father, considered an unofficial fifth member of their band, and the Moffats couldn't lose. The Moffats were great with the kids, remembered Palmer. Their parents made them go to kids' hospital every single time they were on tour.
Aw.
And I was really impressed with the empathy and the ease that these young boys had in talking to these people. Kids, mainly girls. I thought that was a really good way to give back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Friendship, family, accessibility, record labels that wanted to invest. It seemed like Canada's boy bands, intentional or not, had everything going for them. But as Sherman pointed out in her book Larger Than Life, the term came with a ceiling. The fact that they're called boy bands, it makes it seem like they can't grow up. Then there's just randomly a little thing about B44 here.
Oh, yeah, read it.
It says they're from 1999 to 2004. Of all the boy bands in Canada, B44 was the closest approximation to the stars south of the border. Although the trio comprising of twin brothers, Ryan and Dan Kowarski, and their friend Ohad Einbinder,
I don't know how to say that.
was not manufactured by a record label, they did approach the music with a boy band mindset.
Yes.
Certainly did.
Good.
Spiky hair and all.
Yes.
Puka shell necklace.
Sherman struggled to find the etymology of the term boy band when writing her book. Maybe it's because it's a dirty word and people didn't want to claim ownership to it, she pondered. But Sherman ultimately landed on a quote from BSB and NSYNC impresario Lou Pearlman that points to its origins in 1980s Germany. Years ago, the groups that were over there were actually bands playing music, Pearlman once told author Frederick Levy for the Ultimate Boy Band book. I've never heard of that, but also something maybe...
We
Put on the
should,
list.
yes.
All right.
Two things on the list.
Probably-
Summer reading list, guys.
There you go.
It's probably very old and out of date, but whatever, if Lou Pearlman's in it. Though they might have been boys in them, they were bands because they played music, he continued. A group that would dance and sing was determined to be quoted as a boy band. It started back to the times of New Kids on the Block, and it also dates back to Take That. Once they had those bands, because they didn't play instruments per se, they called them boy bands, like boy toys. So they were referring to a combination of boy toy and they're a band. So they made boy band. And then there's a quote here from James Brian McCullum, who is a songwriter, producer, and Prozac member.
Prozac!
Prozac was more of like a
cartoon
dancey-
band.
Yeah.
Were they
Aw.
considered a boy band?
No, they were more
Well,
like...
it's one of the guys from the Philosopher Kings.
Are they more like EDM? Or
I was
something?
going to say,
Kind of,
something
but
like
I feel
that.
like it was pre-EDM. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they had
Dancey,
like cartoons as them.
They
Simon
never-
and
yeah.
Milo.
Appeared
Aw.
like in real life. It was
And
weird.
when they did appear in real life, they wore masks.
Yes.
Before Daft Punk.
And who's
Deadmau5.
Deadmau5.
Yes.
Never get over you.
Anyways, his quote is, with B44, everybody was clear about what it was. This was a boy band, and we are going to write the biggest hits we can for boy bands to get on the radio. And that was a very clear agenda.
Good.
Okay, so back to the boy bands and the boy toys.
Yes.
By combining those terms, you're sort of taking away any street cred of a rock band and you're softening it, Sherman noted. The term comes off more juvenile, boyish, and approachable to the masses. Critics over the years were integral in sanding down U.S. boy bands and their merits. Real talent, skilled choreography, and accessible melodies, transforming strengths into stereotypes to scoff at or to mock.
Yeah.
Songwriting credits are also often challenged, if not entirely overlooked, but some boy bands have penned their own music, especially Canadian acts like Soul Decision, McMaster and James, and the Moffats. See, nobody wants to give these guys any credit.
I know.
I know, that sucks.
It wasn't bad, but it was tough trying to be taken seriously after all that, Soul Decisions, Guthrie admitted, referring to how bad the boy band label affected his band's validity. McMaster and James, Rob James, echoed that sentiment, knowing that the boy band label wasn't terribly harmful, but it was just a little inaccurate because we were less like traditional boy bands and we were more like Hall & Oates.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're not. I wouldn't consider them a boy band.
The negative connotations of the term boy band trickled down to influence those groups' critical standings, earning them poor reviews and making them the butt of jokes and rarely landing nominations for awards like Grammys and other institutions that held themselves up to be bastions of critical taste.
Questionable.
Why doesn't BSB have a Grammy?
I know.
Let's not get into it.
Yeah.
Let's just do a whole exhibit on them in the museum, but not
but not actually give them one.
I know, dick clowns.
I know. What is wrong with them?
But the support and capital of young women is what led groups like BSB and NSYNC topping the charts and breaking sales records. That kind of power and influence cannot be understated. And if critics looked past the hysteria, they would see that many of these groups made great music.
Yeah,
100%.
Boy bands all over the world have pushed back against the label, from NSYNC's Lance Bass to various members of One Direction, because they demanded to be taken seriously.
Yeah, it should be. It's a lot of hard work that
But they
do.
shouldn't have to be, right? It shouldn't. The point is, just because they're a boy band, it doesn't mean they're shit.
No,
That's true.
they work
exactly.
really
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
100%.
Sherman thinks that we're.
I agree.
You're like,
I said 100%, but I feel like I was biting my mouth at the time, so that's why it didn't come out clearly.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
We are all in agreement.
Yes,
agree.
Yes.
Sherman thinks that we're finally reaching a point where groups are embracing the title from Brockhampton's proclamation, "Just by putting the name rap on yourself, you've set a limit, but a pop star can do anything," member Amir Van told Beats One Radio. To BTS and the K-pop industry revolutionizing boy bands, groups are now finally seeing the potential of occupying this space.
Good.
This is
Wow.
true. It's good.
BTS really is changing the game, guys.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they did.
I would say they were dynamite.
There's a little bit about McMaster and James here. So they
Yeah.
were from
Read it.
1997 to 2002. They were inspired by Prince and would have liked to
Nice.
grow into Hall & Oates. Instead, McMaster and James was a briefly buzzy boy band that rode the small crest of Canadian success through one album cycle in the last heady days of a robust record industry that had no clue something as dull sounding as file sharing would be its downfall.
Wow.
Oh, Napster.
Yeah.
McMaster and James were promoted on Corn Pop boxes, and I saved it and got Luke McMaster to sign that years later when he came into the station as a solo artist.
There you
Wonderful.
go.
Yes.
All right. Sherman has a simple explanation for boy band's mainstream success, but critical in visibility. Run-of-the-mill misogyny.
Ah,
You're damn right.
Yeah.
You're damn right.
Going on
Definitely.
today.
She argued that the devaluation of boy bands always goes back to the group's audience, young women. Because the music press was and continues to be, to varying degrees, controlled by men,
Yep.
it often misses the value in what young women listen to. I think because boy bands are always kind of written about through the lens of this image of some hysterical teen girl, they're never taken seriously, Sherman said. It's kind of
Yep.
strange that they're always described through their audience and not through their musicality.
Yeah.
That was the quote from earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bands were uncomfortable with the boy band name because they're not taken seriously, while teenage girls and moms who made up the boy band's core fan base were responsible for the band's mainstream success.
Yep.
As Pitchfork critic Brody Lancaster wrote in 2015, in fan-dominated spaces, teen girls are the ultimate authorities.
Yes.
I think a lot of it being targeted towards young women makes sense because they're cute boys with guitars, or they're singing or frolicking on beaches, Sherman said. That's always going to be interesting to young women.
Hell yeah.
Young
Yeah,
straight women primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Some cute pictures of B44 here. All right.
Those are cute.
During the heteronormative heydays of the 90s, during the heteronormative heyday of 90s boy bands, the pull of teenage girls' fandom was not lost on the bands, even if they did want to expand their audience to an older and likely more male crowd. For us, our audience was going to be young girls because we were young guys, and they, EMI, found it. They found the right audience, said the Moffats Clint. So I think that now, our audience is just a reflection of our age, and it's a reflection of the type of music and more guys like our music now just because we're older and maybe a little bit more relatable. But I think it was definitely directed by pop, and I think that was maybe a bit of a struggle with us too, because we wanted to not necessarily just be lumped into the boy band thing. For us, man, if there were 5,000 girls out there or 5,000 guys out there, it didn't matter to us. The fact that we had an audience was powerful, added Bob.
Yeah.
Clint remembers the few teenage boys that he saw attending their show being jealous of the band members, sometimes throwing eggs at them.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Being in a boy band, having a primarily female audience, is just the most imposing a threat to males, adds Clint.
Yep.
Clint.
This is true.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, it was just like, we're a threat. All the girls are screaming at us. There was some jealousy.
Mm.
That the gender divide devolved into jealousy instead of musical appreciation is unsurprising.
Yeah.
Why would teenage girls be interested in the Moffats' music for any reason other than the 4 cute boys? Instead of being appreciated for their fervor and buying power in an industry that lives or dies on fandom, their love has often been regarded as inconsequential, uninformed, and a phase.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe we just like the song. Maybe we like that they'll be there for us.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, no one's denying that the fact that they're cute helps,
It certainly does.
but
Yeah.
you're not going to remain a fan for a long time just because they're cute.
Yeah,
Right.
they gotta have good music.
They
too.
have to have good songs.
100%.
Teenage girls' devotion is powerful enough to propel an entire touring operation and globally sold out tours, but not so powerful as to move the needle on Grammy consideration.
98%.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I still think
98%. Fucking guy over here.
Oh my
Clown.
god.
I still think that boy bands write large and what? I still think that boy
By and
bands
large?
write in large
Oh,
and their fans. There's still a lot of progress to be made, said Sherman.
95%.
Like
You guys are
It's 100%.
assholes.
No, it's 100%.
We're listening to you.
Like, even a timely example would be BTS. They are written
Yes.
about in mainstream US media, but it's primarily just for the records that they break.
Mm.
It doesn't seem to be very critical beyond that. I think the last couple of years there's been more of a shift, but then when they get their number 1 this week with their first English language single, Dynamite, we saw a lot more critics like, what's happening here? And to me, it's like, well, girls have been talking about this for years,
Yeah.
you guys.
Yes, see?
Then there's a little bit about Soul Decision here
Can you read it?
from 1993 to 2005. Trevor Guthrie used to deny being in a boy band. Nowadays, he just shrugs, smiles, and begrudgingly admits that that was the truth of Soul Decision. Or at least that's the way they were perceived by everyone, including their record label. You can't change that, right?
Mm.
Answer our DMs, Trevor. Instagram. We'd like you on the show.
This is Boy Band Break. Maybe we need to change the title of the podcast.
You're like, we're not boy band break.
Wink.
Or band break.
There you go.
Sherman added that she does think people are digging into the socio-political identities and elements to music more so than they were in the past.
Yes.
Mm.
People are stretching to think about music outside of their own experiences and perception.
Yes.
And she credits
yes.
a lot of that into increased diversity in the music press.
True.
Good.
Obviously, there's still a long way to go, she said. But I think when you see more writers of color, you're going to see more artists of color covered. If you see more women writing, you're going to see more writing about the interests of women.
Yeah.
True. That
And
is
that's
true.
not a bad thing.
Yes.
I really appreciate that shift. It's not perfect, but we're inching towards some sort of appreciation.
That's good.
Agreed.
These days, the pushback on the hysterical teen girl image is stronger. When Rolling Stone asked Harry Styles in a 2017 feature interview if he spends pressure-filled evenings worried about providing credibility to an older crowd after having left One Direction to go solo, he did not have time for it. Who's to say young girls who like pop music, short for popular, right, have worse musical taste than a 30-year-old hipster guy?
Yeah.
That's not up to you to say.
Yeah.
Music is something that's always changing. There's no goalposts. Young girls like the Beatles. You're going to tell me they're not serious? How can you say young girls don't get it? They're our future. Our future doctors, lawyers, mothers, presidents.
Yes.
They keep the world going.
Yes.
Yes.
Teenage girl fans, they don't lie. If they like you, they're there. They don't act too cool. They
Yeah,
like
that's
you
true.
and they tell you, which is
Yes.
sick.
Mm.
Yes, Harry!
Yes!
Holy shit!
Yes.
Harry, you get us.
You get it, Harry.
Exactly. Thank you.
Holy shit, I've never read a better quote.
Yes.
Yeah. Agreed.
Agreed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is good.
Anyways,
Brilliant.
I needed to pause there.
Moment of silence. for
Yes.
Harry
Moment of
Styles.
silence, like claps.
Clap
for
your
Harry.
hands. Yes.
Fucking gorgeous.
God damn.
Yes.
And to think Shinzia hated him.
I know.
I regret my earlier decisions. I based that on I thought he was going to Justin Timberlake out of the group, and I put that upon Harry. But then I realized that he is not, and Harry is a good guy.
Yes.
He's like the David Bowie of our generation. He's such
He
like
wants
a
to wear
dresses.
dresses.
open-minded dude with fucking mic drops.
Yes.
If
With
you ever
awesome
read any
quotes.
articles about people who have met him and things, they're all very nice. I was reading one the other day about an assistant who worked for him, and she was like, they went to an award something and they had a big gift basket, and he gave her half of the gift basket.
Aw.
That's
he's
nice.
like, he is welcoming to people around him. I've never heard bad stories about Harry. So
We love you,
We love you,
Yeah.
Harry.
Woo,
Come on
like
our
to be
podcast.
on
Come on the
podcast.
show.
Yes. Come on the show.
I'm sure you don't have anything better to do, right?
Yeah.
Just a couple.
You're just Harry Styles, whatever. All right, let's continue. It's easy to say that Canada's boy band legacy failed to match up to the success of America. But the reality is that the two countries operated by their own sets of rules. Our neighbors south of the border.
Oh, Chinley was doing the hand signal.
I
Okay.
wasn't doing enhanced.
Oh, I thought you were.
I
Okay.
wasn't. I was stretching my fingers
Oh,
because I've
sorry.
been playing with this pen and like, okay.
Oh, okay. And you're also writing on your hands. Okay.
No, I had notes because
She doesn't want to forget things.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I
gotcha.
already mentioned two.
Created the modern day boy band template. Then Canada's attempt at selling its own version was like fitting a square peg into a round hole. Some of her acts were too old. Others didn't have the right number of members.
Yeah. See, we talked about that.
Oh, geez.
Duos aren't commonly looked at as a boy band. We agree.
Yeah, I agree.
We are biased ourselves. I'm
I know.
sorry.
I feel like you need at least 3.
Yeah.
But,
5.
yeah, 3 to 5, or maybe 7 even.
Yeah.
Odd numbers are good.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Better formation.
It's true.
True.
And almost none of them had a dance choreography as part of their repertoire,
Yeah.
Missed
With-
opportunity.
You need some dancing.
with the exception again of B44.
Yeah, they were good.
And ID.
Shout out.
Yes.
One of the members of ID was a dance instructor, so I feel like he got some of that in there.
Okay.
He also played Scooby at Canada's Wonderland.
Thank you for that
Thank
tidbit.
you.
Awesome.
I agree.
Speaking of no tangents.
Canada's boy bands were mostly just bands, complete with capable instrumentalists that fell into the wrong category at the right time. And whether or not those groups pushed back against the boy band label, all of them benefited from the unique marketing. Opening spots for American superstars like NSYNC, Britney Spears, and Christina Aguilera, the chance to perform for thousands of pop music fans, and feeling a fraction of the limelight that their US counterparts experienced may feel like a consolation prize, but it was actually considered a huge victory for some of these groups.
Yeah.
For as much as Canada has succeeded with solo pop artists, Alanis Morissette, Celine Dion, and rock groups,
Nickelback.
the Bare Naked Ladies
Sum 41?
and Rush are what they list here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Pop groups were a new terrain, and boy bands were the most viable acts. Any group of cute young boys was going to be somehow pushed into the boy band schema, Sherman said.
That's why Sum 41 was not a...
Okay.
Oh,
Whatever,
ouch.
not to Derek. I'm sorry.
Ouch.
Lovely.
Pointing out that Canada wasn't alone in the boy band competition. In the UK, home of Pronto boy band The Beatles, also made a strong run at the boy band domination in the 90s, 2000s with BB Mac, Five, Westlife, McFly, and Busted.
Nice.
All
Yeah.
before delivering us the boy band saviors of the 2010s, One Direction.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
These are all very good UK bands.
Yeah, they were
Good job,
good
guys.
bands.
But with BSB and NSYNC already taking up so much space at the turn of the millennium, that left very little room for others. As
True.
Sherman notes, they were all kind of trying to access the same marketplace because you have something like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC selling so exorbitantly well, some of the best-selling records of all time.
Mhm.
Yes.
I kind of compare it to like in the mid-90s, where every major label was trying to find the next Nirvana, and they just ended up signing 1,000 mediocre Nirvana wannabes.
Mm.
Sherman
Interesting.
continues.
Yeah.
Soul Decision's Guthrie added that with the oversaturation of the US market, Canadians needed to perform above and beyond expectations to get attention.
Yep.
Mm.
There's a lot of great Canadian talent, and sometimes they're just one song short of breaking that market, he said.
See?
It's tough.
That's good.
Few people extol Canada's boy band legacy nowadays, but that doesn't mean that the group's general pop presence hasn't strengthened in recent years. Even though we failed to boost our boy bands, Canada has gone on to produce some of the world's biggest pop stars. Justin Bieber,
Yeah.
Shawn Mendes,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Drake,
Yes.
Avril Lavigne,
Yeah.
and Carly Rae Jepsen
Oh yeah.
Giuseppe.
are just a few of the many artists who have broken through
Mm-hmm.
and smashed records, establishing the country as a pop force.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, true.
For artists like Bieber and Mendes, who could have easily fit the boy band mold, their success rides off new technological advances.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Post-Napster, that groups like Soul Decision and the Moffats missed out on, Bieber became a YouTube sensation and caught the attention of American manager Scooter Braun
Yeah.
and R&B star Usher.
Yeah.
Mendes followed a few years later by blowing up on Vine, a platform where young Mendes performed 6-second song covers.
Mm.
While Bieber performed some choreography live, both those artists became overnight sensations for their musical talents, playing the drums, Bieber, guitar, both Bieber and Mendes, and piano, again, both Bieber and Mendes,
Oh, nice.
falling in line with the Canadian boy band lineage that was established in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And while K-pop has taken the boy band torch and sprinted ahead
Yes.
with a new model of superstardom.
Yes.
Sliding in like butter.
Oh,
There.
Very
Yeah.
good,
See?
very good.
Sherman said that the ebbs and flows of the boy band trend could very well open up to future Canadian boy band
Yeah.
breakouts.
Come on.
Come on, Mama Lou.
I will seriously do it. I just need capital. Guys,
Yes.
go to our Ko-fi.
Money and an opportunity.
Yes.
Lydia is
Russell
your
Oliver.
girl.
I don't know. I don't know if now is the time, she cautioned. But that's not to say there couldn't be in the future. Canada has created great boy pop stars, so who's to say that Canada's not going to make a great boy band? I would love it. I welcome it.
I would
Yes.
also welcome this. Please give us a boy
I feel like we
band.
would welcome it.
It can be done. It can be done. We follow the Lou method. Except for the bad parts.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All
That
good.
is the end.
My last
Thank
name.
you so much for that. That was
Yay.
great.
Good job.
So the one point that I thought of before sometime during this is that it is much easier for a rock band to make it than it is for a boy band to make it.
True. Yes.
Because they have open mic nights, they have all the battle of the bands, they have all that. It's always rock bands.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're playing your instruments, you're singing, you're screaming your songs or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Or you're a little more folky or something. But there's not really anywhere you can go to be a boy band, to
No.
be like,
True.
oh, a battle of the boy band competition, unless you're doing like covers or something of the other ones. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I find that's also another stumbling block to get into boy bandom.
Yes, agreed.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I like
good
that
point.
article. I thought
It
that
was
a really
very
good article.
thorough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It
Touched
talked-
on all the good major Canadian boy bands. I
Some
feel
good
like there was
points.
representation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you guys all combined were kind of right. They didn't specifically mention a Lou Pearlman type
They said
character,
it's a saldo. They made like a fancy word. They used a fancy word.
but they didn't say that was a reason that the boy bands didn't succeed.
Okay. But we know the truth.
Yes.
Yes, we know the truth.
But yeah, you're right. So it was kind of like a combo of like everything we said.
Yeah.
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 Like, even in the end there, when you were talking about Scooter Braun, like, that's literally what you said
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
before getting there. So.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that
That
was
was
really
good.
good.
Yeah.
you know, we welcome Canadian boy bands. If you are a Canadian boy band and you want to try to make it, come on our show.
It's
That's
about
right.
time that we
And I think, you know,
cyclical boy bands come
if
back.
you're an American and you're listening to this, give Canadian artists a chance.
That's right.
Honestly, you
know-
should check it out because it's they're pretty good. There's some
And
good
they're
songs.
not all Bieber. I know people have a big problem with Justin Bieber. And
Sorry. Not Josh.
Not Josh.
I saw. Yeah.
People have a big problem with Bieber because
He's done some weird.
he's done some dumb
Yeah.
Listen,
crap.
he was fine when we released him to you.
You guys messed him up.
You guys
down
messed
there.
him up, and then he came back, and now he lives in like Stratford and like a
No, he doesn't live in Stratford. He lives up.
That's where he was originally
Oh,
from.
right. No.
Flinch.
yes, because like I saw his house. He lives on like a lake, and like there's lots of land nearby. Because he's like, I've had it with you people.
But now
I'm gonna
he's-
take this
but
hot
now-
wife and go sit
You
here
know
for a
what?
while.
Now he's
Maybe-
fine again.
Yeah,
Maybe
because he's back.
He could make a boy band. Like he could be the Canadian Lou. He has the money. He has
money.
knowledge.
He does.
Of the industry. He did help Scooter like get Carly Rae Giuseppe and other people. So like, you know, maybe
And he makes good songs, guys.
He does.
You
He does.
cannot deny
I don't know.
that you
know
don't
what that
like
is.
some of these Bieber songs. Come on.
True.
Yes.
True. Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
legit,
So
legit.
that was Josh.
I like Justin Bieber, okay? So shut up.
Yeah,
good songs.
He's good, and Drake's good too.
Oh, I love Drake. But Drake's a different beast.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But-
well, it's time for us to go.
So you know what? Check out some Canadian boy bands in honor of Canada Day. Let's do this. Let's get out there.
Let's
Let's
support
show
that
some
Canadian
love,
boy
Show
band.
some love for CanCon.
Yeah.
Go back to episode 60. Listen to our Canadian boy band episode.
Give money to our coffee so I can be Canadian Lou Pearlman.
Yes.
All right. So
All right.
and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere you want. Anywhere you want it, that's the way you need it.
We're already
Yeah, I
there.
don't know. We're
You
already
see? Look at us.
There you go.
So there you go.
Thanks for taking a break with us, guys.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.